Hello teacher, my name is Duy and now I'm gonna tell you about the lesson that I found most applicable. It is polynomial modifier. So why do I think this lesson is the most applicable? When I work in secondary and high school, all of my English teacher they usually said that only the adjective can modify the noun and the adjective must be placed in front of the noun. So I keep following to that assurance until I learn syntax. Yeah, especially this lesson. This lesson showed me that the noun is modified by not only the adjective but also many things more, and they don't have to be placed in front of the noun. There are 11 forms of polynomial modifier in this sentence, but I can only apply some of them. So now I'm gonna make a quick review about them, and then I show you how I apply them. So first, it's about a modified adjective. Why is it called a modified adjective? Because the adjective is modified by a qualifier. The qualifier was some words such as very, extremely, more, and most. So you can say like very beautiful, extremely hard, and most intelligent. So I have a sentence below. My teacher explained an extremely difficult question. So this sentence is correct in both meaning and structure, but this sentence is a little bit too basic. So instead of saying that, you can say like this: a question extremely difficult was explained by my teacher. So the adjective difficult was modified by the qualifier extremely, and this modified adjective can modify the noun question, and it can be placed after the noun question. Second, when two or more adjectives modify a noun, they can occur after the noun. It's called compounded adjective. For example, the shoulder strong and frail fight for his country. In this example, two adjectives strong and frail was combined by the verb and. And they are all used to modify the noun soldier. So when you want to describe a noun with more than one adjective, you can use this structure. It makes the noun become more highlight. You can highlight the noun by placing it in the beginning of the sentence. For example, if you say the strong and brave soldier fights for his country, so people will likely to focus more on the adjective because it's occurs first, but not the noun. So when we place the noun in the beginning of the sentence, people will focus more on the noun. Like when they read the sentence, like the soldier, so they will ask a question: how is the soldier? So he is strong and brave. So next, an uninflected word can also modify the noun. So what is the uninflected word? It is some word that you cannot change by adding any suffix or prefix. And I think most of us use it in daily lives, but we don't realize it. We usually say something like the name above or the sentence below, the list below. So above and below are uninflected words, and it is used to modify the noun preceding it. The next one is both present and past participle can modify a noun. For instance, the tree standing brightly in the storm had juicy fruit. The present participle phrase standing brightly in the storm is adjectival and is modified the noun tree. And another example for past participle phrase: the picture drawn by a famous artist was sold with a high price. So drawn by a famous artist is a past participle phrase, and it is used to modify the noun picture. So you can apply it into your writing. You make your sentence become, more special, different from the other, and you make your essay become more professional. And finally, last but not least, a relative clause can also modify the noun, and it goes right after the noun is modified. For example, we say the man whom you are talking about is my brother, and the man who hold the beer bottle is my father. So both relative clause in the two sentences modify the noun man. A relative clause is used by many people, native speakers as well. We use it in daily writing. So I think this part is very useful and applicable. So pretending like I don't know the words, the remote, but I can say something like this. Could you give me the thing that's used to control the television? So people will know that I want to say about the remote, even though I don't say it. In conclusion, personally, I think syntax is not a difficult subject, but it's quite easy to make mistakes if you don't have a stable knowledge. About the question, what am I planning to do to improve my English syntax? So probably I think I need to read book about the theory and the definition. Then I need to apply them to do the exercise, like spending a lot of time practicing on it. And then I make example by myself. You know, when you can make an example by yourself and do the exercise, it means you understand the lesson. Having a good grammar is also an advantage as well, because I think syntax is deeply involved with the grammar. So I have to improve my grammar too. And last one, I also need to pay more attention to my teacher and my classmates when they are presenting. Yes, so that's all. Thank you so much for watching.
Hello teacher, thanks for watching video. Today I will talk about what lesson do you find the most applicable. During the semester, I learned about syntax, one of the important subjects when I'm learning English. Out of the lesson that I have learned, the one that I find the most interesting is the basic sentence pattern. A sentence pattern is the arrangement of words in a sentence, and it means that the placement of the subject, verb, and object are correct to make meaningful sentences. There are 9 sentence patterns, and however, we won't be able to describe everything in detail in one video to discuss on the patterns. So today I just talk about pattern 6 and pattern 7 because I want to compare the differences between 2 sentence patterns so that people can better understand and avoid confusion about their structure. First of all, I will talk about pattern sentence 6. This pattern is composed of subject plus intransitive verb. As we can see, the subject always occurs in the end position. Subject is a person or things that is being discussed in a sentence, while an intransitive verb is an action verb that does not require a direct object for its meaning to be complete. They don't have a direct object that follows the verb. This pattern does not need supporting information, and the thought of the sentence was already complete by the action. For example, the dog barked or the car broke. Bark and broke here is an intransitive verb, and there's no need for an object to follow. But the reader can still understand the meaning of the speaker. Using a direct object immediately after an intransitive verb will create an incorrect sentence. An intransitive verb does not take an object. However, there may be other information after the verb, such as one or more prepositional phrases or an adverb. It can answer for the question how, when, where, or how often. For example, he writes legibly. How? Or in this sentence, legibly is not a direct object. This is an adverb, so we cannot ask with the question, write what? There's no answer to this question, but we can ask, how do he write? And we can easily answer, he writes legibly. Legibly is an adverb that modifies the verb write. In addition, an intransitive verb is not usually completed by a noun or pronoun, because when the verbs is followed by a noun or pronoun, it becomes a sentence pattern 7. And it will not be a transitive verb if there is a direct object after the verb. For example, he ate very late. Ate here is an intransitive verb, but in he ate the cake, ate in the sentence is a transitive verb because they have a direct object. A substitution can clarify whether verb immediately after the verb is completed or a transitive verb or modified that goes with an intransitive verb. The verb is not intransitive verb if you may relate it with him, her, it, or them. Or for example, the audience clapped loudly, and the audience clapped their hands. In the first sentence, you cannot substitute it. It will spoil all the structural meaning. However, in the second sentence, the audience clapped it. It was an appropriate substitute for the audience claps their hands. So the first clap is an intransitive verb and the second one is transitive. Next, I will talk about the pattern sentence 7. This pattern is composed of in and may stand for subject plus a transitive verb, and to may stand for a direct object. Transitive verb is the opposite of intransitive verb. It requires a direct object to complete the meaning of the sentence, while the direct object precedes the action of the verb. Subject is in refer to who or what. For example, Annie sharpened the pencil. As we can say, sharpen is a transitive verb and the pencil is a direct object in the sentence that is receiving the action of the verb sharpened. It doesn't make sense without an object because this sharpen is incomplete. We can understand what the sentence means. A transitive verb is not complete by itself. Moreover, the verb in the pattern 7 is followed by a noun or pronoun, which can be either him, her, it, or them. In the example above, this noun does not have the same reference as the subject. See and the sharpen is not the same reference. It is referred to as the direct object of the verb and means that we see the action of the verb in grammar. However, when using two different pronouns, the direct objects does share the subject or referent. One is the group of pronouns ending in self or selves, also referred to as relationship pronouns. The following statement use them as the direct objects. For example, I love myself or she loves herself. They have the same referent. And the second group of words include reciprocal pronouns each other and one another, which serve as direct objects in the following sentences. These two girls help each other, or please give me another. So it's the end of the lesson that I want to talk today. I think that learning syntax is an interesting subject. It helped me improve my writing abilities as well as my understanding of sentence structure. This is not a difficult subject to understand if we study hard and know how to apply it in everyday situation. We should use a lot of what we have learned in class about syntax in a specific situation to be able to remember and understand it more deeply. For me, I will learn about syntax, look up information and materials related to the lesson. Then I will practice with my friend by using basic sentence pattern to chat together. What I do not understand or misunderstand, I can ask my teacher and my friends about the problem that I have made. Then go home and to do your own research and try to do better.
Hello teacher, well my name is Yang and I'm right here today to talk about the basic sentence patterns. So perhaps one of the most interesting and challenging grammatical points in this course for me is about basic sentence patterns. And I found that the pattern number 8 is somehow more difficult to understand than the others. So I decided to give it a chance of using it in my video. So I give the structure right here, okay? The pattern number 8. Yeah. First and foremost, This pattern occurs with a quite common structure: a subject, a verb, a transitive verb, and they are followed by the indirect object and the direct object. So let's take an example. My dad taught my brother a lesson of being survived. So in this situation, now 1, now 2, now 3 indicates my dad, my brother, and a lesson of being survived. Of course, they are in different reference. That means it's separate from each other. Well, in case we wanna change the sentence into something more interesting, the indirect object may often be replaced by a prepositional phrase beginning with to or for, or occasionally with a different preposition. You can see as in the examples. They bought me a ticket, and I only play my sister the piano. I'm sorry. Without consideration, we can immediately change them into they bought a ticket for me, and I only play the piano for my sister. So this is a good way and a proper way to put a little change into your sentences if you want to make it more interesting and you find them boring sometimes. Last but not least, in any case, if you want to use a pronoun in the position of the direct object, it must be the first of the two objects. For example, we have I sent it to my sister, not I sent my sister it. So similarly, if both the indirect and the direct object are pronouns, the direct object must occur first. I sent it to her, not I sent her it. Okay. So this is the very challenging grammatical points that I have to improve a lot. For me, if I want to improve my English syntax, I should read, and this is the first step to be considered to be done to improve my English syntax. It helps me grasp a lot of grammar rules in different ways. Then I'll be able to naturally review my grammar points in my mind, and by writing and reading more often, interestingly, it will help me know what grammar rules are effective to use and some common mistakes I should avoid. As I mentioned above, writing is the next level of using my often grammar rules through reading. Just we discussed how important reading is to improve my grammar skills. And only by practicing writing using proper techniques and grammar rules can I sharpen my grammar skills. And finally, learning and practicing process cannot be fully success unless we take an additional learning from others' feedback. Writing, for example, and asking for help from instructors and writing tutors for overview my own essays can significantly strengthen grammar skills and use it more effectively. So that's how I can improve my English syntax. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Hello teacher, I'm Ngọc Hân, and today I'm gonna present the lesson that I find the most applicable is that verb group adverbials. There are 7 types of sentence modifiers, but in this video I only focus on 2 kinds of them that I think they are more useful for me and I can apply this knowledge to the reality. At the same time, I will indicate why they are applicable in each part. So, the first kind of adverbials I want to tell about is clause adverbials. An adverbial clause is a dependent clause that modifies the main verb of the independent clause. Adverbial clauses have a subject and predicate and always start with a subordinating conjunction and must connect to an independent clause to make sense. They often state a relationship and can be placed at the beginning, middle, or end of a sentence. Now I will give you an example. Jimmy passed the test with flying colors, although he didn't learn anything. So you can see here the phrase although he didn't learn anything is the sentence modifier. That tells about how Jimmy passed the test with flying colors. Sometimes you can change the position of adverbial in this sentence by giving clause adverbial at the beginning or the middle with the comma. You can say, although Jimmy didn't learn anything, he passed the test with flying colors. We can use this structure in daily communication to describe our idea to be longer and more professional, and use more complex sentences with various adverbial structures, especially for academic tests such as speaking and writing tests. And the second kind of adverbials I want to tell about is infinitive phrase adverbials. It is important to distinguish infinitive phrase of adverbial modifier and direct object of the verb. Adverbial modifier of the verb will indicate the purpose, answer for the question of why or how. And direct object of the verb will give information about the subject, a person or a thing that receives the transitive verb, and often answer for the question of what. Now I will give you two examples. The first example is Helen likes to do morning exercise. So you can see here the phrase to do morning exercises is a direct object of the verb like. You can ask the question, what does Helen like? And the answer is she likes to do morning exercise. And the second example is I have to lose my weight to look sharp. In this case, the phrase to look sharp refers a purpose and answer for the question why I have to lose weight. That's the reason why the second example is adverbial modifier. And another way to say this sentence is to look sharp, I have to lose my weight. We can apply this structure in basic life. Every day we often meet many people and have conversations with them in school, workplace, home, and do something with different purpose. We can use these kinds of adverbials to describe the subject that we are talking about in our conversation or a purpose that we try to do something to achieve. And another valuable thing I have learned from this lesson is that combination. These kinds have a strong connection. Now I will give you an example to prove this. As soon as I went home, a neighbor came to my house to borrow some money. As we can see here, the phrase as soon as I went home. This is clause adverbial that tells about the time the neighbor came to my house. And the phrase to borrow some money, this is infinitive phrase adverbial that gives the answer for the question, why did the neighbor come to my house? I think to improve my English syntax most efficiently, the first thing I have to know is how to classify and understand clearly each type. Then I will do various assignments according to each type. Giving many examples by myself is also a useful way for me to enhance my fluency and flexibility. I believe that if I maintain this habit every day, I will be excellent at syntax and can apply this knowledge in communication as well as writing a text, an email, or a cover letter.
Hi, I am Hoa. Recently, I have learned about syntax. Most interesting for me is basic sentence patterns. Well, at first, I assumed that when we make simple English sentences, we usually follow the subject-verb, object, or subject-verb complements. But after completing this course, I have learned more about the basic English sentence patterns, such about own sentences in the English language fall into 9 patterns determined by the present and functions of nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Verb of being pattern use a form of the verb be as the main verb in the sentence. Linking verb patterns use one of the linking verb as the main verb in the sentence. The linking verb is followed by a noun or adjective functioning as a subjective complement. Action verb patterns use one of the many action verbs as the main verb in the sentence. The action verb may be either transitive, take a direct object, or intransitive, not take a direct object. In these videos, I just want to talk about pattern 1 and pattern 2. Pattern 1 noun plus verb be plus adjective, and pattern 2 noun plus verb be plus adverb. As you can see, two patterns use a form of the verb be as the main verb in the sentence. I think I can call them pattern with be, but in each of the first two patterns, the verb be has a different meaning. In pattern 1, the meaning is that which is described. The first example of this pattern is beef is healthy. The simple noun may stand for a single noun like beef, but can also refer to a noun phrase. Noun can also stand for phrase or clause in the noun or first position. In this pattern, the third item must be an adjective or adjectival, a word that occupies the position of an adjective. In the example, beef is healthy, and healthy is an adjectival. We can also use an adjective like good in its place. This sentence belongs to pattern 1. Pattern 2 noun plus verb be plus adverb. Here is example. The boy is outside. The verb be in pattern 2 usually has the meaning of be located or occur. The third position is occupied by a word that is called an adverbial, a word that is used in the adverb position. An adverbial is also one type of uninflected word. For most words in the adverb position, one can substitute there and then. Examples are the waiter is upstairs. Word in the adverb position, one can substitute there for word denoting play, and next, the mark will be tomorrow. Word in the adverb position, one can substitute then for word denoting time. The grammatical meaning of the subject, the noun of first position, is that about which an assertion is made. In my opinion, it is great being able to know how basic pattern sentences, such as the above, are constructed, and also being able to do that yourself. Learning syntax and sentence structure help me clarify meaning within and between sentences. It is beneficial for me to improve my writing and speaking skill. There are many ways to improve my English syntax. The first step toward reinforcing syntax is to review each lesson and list my weaknesses in every lesson. Then I will give myself the task of summarizing each chapter in writing. Maybe that's more interesting when I am trying to accomplish something I am trying to achieve. Second, I will plan to do a lesson at least once a day and research the information about its part. Third, I will make my own examples for each lesson and attempt to correct it by putting the words in the correct order. Finally, reading newspaper and watching TV related to the lesson. I think active reading and listening expose me to language as much as possible by familiarizing my brain with the word's pronunciation and sentence structure. In this way, I can effortlessly improve my language skill and get a grip on English syntax with ease. In the end, I can only say that I am really glad to have attended this course. Thank you for listening. Bye.